Hey guys, Arcade Adam here, back with another video, and in this one I want to show you something I've been working on. It's kind of why I've been far and removed from the YouTube for a minute, but as you can see over my shoulder, there's been some developments. If you haven't caught the cryptic Facebook posts and the crazy excited one word emoji stuff I've been posting, I got linked play to work. I got the bug, man. This is virtual racing. Those who know me know virtual racing's kind of my thing. Show me the 38. Anyway, so that's MAME running on two different machines, Megacade, driving sim. And the cool thing is, not to get too far into the weeds just with an intro, but you can do this with a batch file. You don't even need to configure or make a new mame.ini if you don't want to. So that's cool, but it's annoying because you have to configure the IP address settings on both of these very specifically. So not to get, again, too far into the details, but in my network, that means removing it from the internet, basically. And I'll go into that in a different video, but the point being is having to set this game up and that game up to work together breaks the single player experience. So what is an arcade gamer to do? Build two dedicated racing sims. That's what you do. Let me show you what I've got going on. All right, guys, let's start at the beginning. I found a pattern online, cross-reference it with some other dimensions. I think I got a pretty accurate source for the Cruis'n USA dimensions, and I figured out how to print it in Adobe on 27 sheets of paper, printed it all out, taped it together. You had to fold over the edges because, the printer can't print all the way to the edge, so that was a little annoying, and I may have lost some accuracy there. But anyway, got out the 4x8 sheet of MDF, taped that sucker down, and just went to town with the saw, with the jigsaw. I started cutting with the pattern taped in place, but obviously as the saw hit the edges of the paper, it started lifting up and stuff. So while I was on the struggle bus, I didn't record any of that, but I'll just explain what I did. I instead took an X-Acto knife and I traced the outside of the pattern with the paper taped down. So I had much finer control with an X-Acto knife. I went through several blades, because it got dull. Because the finish on this is actually quite robust. I guess is a good word. Like when you're screwing into it, it takes a minute for the screw to bite. Is a good way to describe it. It's a hard finish. Anyway, I also like to say something about I'm not a woodworker. I'm a computer guy by trade. I fix computers. This arcade thing's a hobby, and it leads me down the rabbit hole of woodworking. So I know I'm not doing things exactly right. Probably not supposed to be cutting towards you. There's probably a way better way of cutting this out than using a stupid jigsaw. But it's what worked for me, and I'm pretty proud of the results. It's definitely not perfect, but it's close enough to where you spend some minutes with some sanders and you're good to go. So with that success, I did it again and did the seat box, and that came out pretty decent too, I think. And like I said, with palm sander, finish out the rough edges, start drawing some straight edges, some lines on there to make sure because obviously you can't do a perfectly straight cut. A perfect example, look at the tear out right there and stuff. So I got to clean that up. And all I did was take the level out and trace some straight lines. And I think the results speak for themselves. And I really wanted to spend some time on this first piece because the next thing I did was the first thing I ever did was grab a router and a pattern bit. And I was going to use this as a template to cut out the other 4 sides that I need for the 2 cabinets. So that's why I want to make sure this one was perfect. So I spent a lot of time sanding, using a straight edge, just kind of, making all the edges perfect, nice and neat. You can see that I got pencil marks on there to try to make a straight, for the monitor section and that kind of thing. It turned out pretty good, I think. And actually, here's a little clip.
Damn.
Not bad for freehand, if I do say so myself. You could barely see this. I mean, it's a little wavy, but not, I mean, I don't know. I fix computers. I don't deal with wood. So when I couldn't work on the cabinet itself, I moved into some 3D modeling in Tinkercad, and started mocking up the left and right control panels, the shifter, and I'm planning on 3D printing those panels so I can take them in and out. But there's the router. Like I said, I've never done routing before. First time ever. Did the seat box first after I did a test piece, of course. Watched a YouTube video to use double stick tape so you can go, all the way around. First attempt was a little rough. Apparently those bits are directional, and then I figured out which way to, basically push the router, not pull it. And then I was off and running, and I still have 10 fingers and toes, so I'm happy. Ended up with 4 copies of that, and nothing a little bit of sanding couldn't fix in terms of repeatability there. They all turned out pretty much the same. No real hiccups to report. There's like one, you can see there's like one line that translated to all those pieces that I was upset about, but nothing a sander couldn't fix. And then I started working on the big piece, and this was my first pattern piece on the left and right side panel, so turned out pretty good. There was one thing on the router that I wish I corrected. There was like not the bulb, not the bearing itself that actually follows the piece, but there was like a set screw that I didn't have tightened down all the way, so it kind of left a mark. Kind of almost looks like I T-mold slotted it at the same time when it didn't. And here we go. Very precise and high-tech drawings and measurements going on here. Just an old man with a pencil, really. And after I figured out that, I grabbed the T-mold bit and slot cut, and I did a test piece, and I was surprised that the first attempt turned out decent, so I just went at it. And yeah, slot cut the whole thing, like no big deal. I was shocked. Got lucky twice with that thing. So also while I was working on this, the UPS guy showed up with my seat. And now that I had all my panels cut out, I started making this thing 3D. Started doing the cleat system. Basically just look inside your Megacade, and it's built the same way. Try to follow along. Those casters might look familiar. Found those on Amazon, and away we go. Now we've got a 3-dimensional cabinet, and that's not the middle of that's not glued in yet. I was just test fitting, but the bottom is all set and glued in. I basically, because I want the most stability down there, so I completely framed it in all 3 dimensions. So that's good to go. I just wanted to make a nice stable base. But yeah, I was surprised how square that turned out. I guess I got lucky again. I'm just leveling it out as I go and making sure. Also, I didn't realize this, but Cruis'n USA's are Hobbit sized. I'm 5'6", and so is that cabinet roughly. And when I test fit my steering wheel, I had to come up with a little jig to cut that out because I didn't have as much height as I thought I did to fit that thing in there. Because I'm using the hard mount system that I used on my racing sim. And there's like I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little plate under the wheel, so you don't have to use that clamp. You can literally screw it right to the wood. There's just a little plastic base. Put that in there. There's the back of the cabinet. And I temporarily I haven't built any of the seat boxes yet, so I just wanted to get a sense for scale. That'll have its own casters and everything. And I'll have to build that box nice and robust to carry me in the seat and attach it to the base. But it'll be so I can take it apart so I can get this thing up and down the stairs, hopefully, without cutting it in half. And yeah, you guys are caught up. All right, guys, that's part 1. Hopefully we end up with something looking like this. I just love to have a dedicated player 1 and 2 heads up. Like, there's like 20 main games, Sega Model 2, Sega Model 3, Naomi, a Thomas Wave. And don't even get me started with the consoles that all support this multiplayer. Oh, and by the way, a little thing called Technoparrot. Like, basically all the racing games almost support linked play. So it's just another rabbit hole I can't wait to dive into, because not only is the gameplay unique, but I'm sure you noticed in my intro, the attract modes change. It's like a whole new chapter in emulation. I can't wait to get started. Get subscribed, comment down below, ask me some questions. I'll see you guys around, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.